Just days away from their holiday recess, and there's a lot to think about for the senators during this holiday break, from healthcare costs to the conflict in the waters off the coast of Venezuela. So we decided to call on Oregon Senior Senator Ron Wyden to wrap up what's happened in Congress so far and what we're looking forward to in 2026. Senator Wyden, thank you for returning to Eye on Northwest Politics.
Thanks for having me back, Ken.
You've looked at what would happen if Obamacare healthcare subsidies are not extended into the new year. What's the status of negotiations in the Senate to extend those tax credits?
Well, I'm looking at what the Speaker of the House has proposed, and it doesn't look to me like a very serious bill. Ken, the reality is the only thing that will make a big difference quickly, that's timely, is to have an extension of the tax credits, because you don't have to stand up something new. So I'm hopeful that the Speaker over the next couple of days is going to get serious about a solution. But most of what he's talking about, and I've now read it, is mostly trying to find ideological trophies for the conservatives.
What would happen to premiums if the credits are not extended? And would that apply to all Americans or just those getting those tax credits?
Well, first of all, there's a lot of misunderstanding. While it's 24 million people who are covered, I think if you do nothing, there will be lots of cost shifting to those who get their coverage through their employer. And that's about 150 million people. So the consequences are very great. Now, the couple that I had from Lane County for the Finance Committee hearing are going to, if nothing is done, see their premiums go up 500%. So this is really a locomotive, barreling through America with higher health costs on it.
The Republicans say that their big, beautiful bill, which goes into effect next year, gives more resources to rural health care. Couldn't that offset some of the impact of losing the credits?
No, because overall, they have produced a massive reduction in, for example, hospital coverage in rural areas. I had a tour of rural communities. These are all places where Donald Trump got 70% or more, and they were all staggered by the level of cuts that are coming for rural America and rural Oregon.
The House just passed a bipartisan package to reauthorize the Secure Rural Schools program. What is that, and how would that help Oregon?
Well, first of all, Ken, I'm the author of this, and Oregon's share has been more than $3 billion for schools and roads and services. This is money that we got because the federal government benefits in terms of timber production and animal welfare and the like, and it goes to counties, and it goes for schools and roads and law enforcement, and it has just been a lifeline. Our rural communities work very closely with me, and this is arguably one of the biggest sources of federal funding ever as it relates to Oregon, and I'm very proud that I could have shepherded this number of years ago.
Does it have to come back to the Senate now that the House has passed it, or is it done?
This goes to the President of the United States, and we believe he'll sign it.
You just got a letter from the U.S. Coast Guard committing the Guard to keeping their rescue helicopter in Newport after they had moved it about 100 miles away initially. Rumors circulating that an ice facility was being explored in Newport. Both situations caused quite the uproar in that town, and you and Congressperson Val Hoyle got involved in this. How important was winning that battle to keep the helicopter in Newport?
Well, it was hugely important. And let me just give you an example of citizen involvement in making a difference. This was during the Thanksgiving holidays. I scheduled a town hall meeting in Newport. Well over 500 angry folks from the coast showed up. And after the meeting, it was clear to me people would keep pushing for a change. And a few days later, the Coast Guard on a phone call with Senator Merkley and I told us the helicopter was going to stay. I want to thank Senator Merkley, Congresswoman Hoyle for working closely with me, and I especially want to thank the fishing moms and all those folks who turned out during the holidays. They proved that participating and registering strong feelings can move the government And literally a few days after that town hall meeting, we were told we were going to get the helicopter back.
Just briefly talk about why that's so important to that community.
Well, the community relies on fishing and tourism, and certainly if somebody falls in those icy waters, we would lose them in a matter of minutes. So it's hugely important, and there's a lot of evidence that if people fall in those waters, they won't be with us in a few minutes.
We're also hearing rumblings about another ICE facility possibly being placed in Portland. There were some job ads that were put out that indicated that maybe the feds are looking at an ICE facility here as well as the one in Newport. What are you hearing about that, and what are your thoughts?
Well, we've been trying to suss out what's going on because they put up stuff in the media about notional jobs. I have no idea what those are, but to have an airport Alcatraz in Portland isn't going to happen on my watch. I'm very opposed.
What can you do from the Senate side if the administration decides that they want to go there?
Same thing that we did in terms of fighting for the helicopter. Can we have a Exhibit A for making a big difference? Literally during the holidays, 500 people showed up. They were angry. People saw that they were angry regardless of their views on other political matters. We got it turned around. I think citizen pressure will make a difference here in imposing a detention facility in Portland.
We've reported an increase in ICE detentions and arrests here in the state of Oregon. Some communities, even schools, have been holding rallies against this. What do you make of this, and what can Congress do in terms of making sure innocent people don't get caught up in this?
Well, I've proposed legislation, for example, making sure that people with ICE identify themselves so there's some accountability and transparency. What we really need, Ken, is to return to what Donald Trump promised back in 2024. He said the focus was going to be on drug dealers and terrorists and murderers and thugs. He didn't talk at all about, young people in their 20s who have no kind of criminal record whatsoever. We need to go back to what Donald Trump pledged in 2024.
We've seen the boat strikes off the coast of Venezuela. In fact, last time we talked on this program, we talked about that. And recently, the U.S. seized an oil tanker off the Venezuelan coast. What's going on here?
Well, Donald Trump obviously believes that he can make all of these issues himself, kill whoever he wants. And remember, it wasn't that long ago when he talked about shooting somebody on Fifth Avenue and claimed that everybody would go along with it. But here, we've got a real-life betrayal of the U.S. military because it puts everybody in the chain of command in legal jeopardy. I voted for the War Powers Resolution to check the president's powers, and I continue to believe that Democrats and Republicans ought to say that the Trump administration cannot abuse war powers.
We've recorded this interview before Thursday's scheduled release of the Epstein files, so we don't know as of this taping how much was released or redacted. But you've always stated that it was important to see what was in those files. Why has the Epstein issue been so important for you?
It's important because I want to make sure that all the facts come out. I think that there are institutions like the banks that look the other way, and I want to get that information out so we can clean up all of these problems and it doesn't happen again. People come up to me and they say, Ron, we're glad that you're doing the essential work in terms of following the money. The fact of the matter is, Ken, if you want to catch corruption in America, the best way to do it is to follow the money. There are two lanes here. One of them involves the Justice Department. We're talking about data for them. I think it's even more important to see where the money went that enabled all of these horrendous practices. And I'm going to stay at it until we get the facts out and then we clean up the problem.
What will be your priorities, your number one priorities in Congress moving forward in 2026?
My top priority, Ken, are all of those issues where the second word is cost. It might be medical cost, it might be energy cost, it might be housing costs, but affordability and making sure that middle-class families, and we've seen additional reports of folks falling between the cracks because of these costs, That's top priority. Anything where the second word is cost is at the top of my priority list.
Senator Ron Wyden, thanks again for coming back to Eye on Northwest Politics, and you have a good holiday and a great new year.
You as well, Ken.
Now, as of this taping Friday morning, the Justice Department is set to release several 100,000 records from the Epstein files. The Deputy Attorney General says more files will be released over the coming weeks.